Okay, so today we have slope-intercept form with tables and graphs. You're going to be able to write slope-intercept form from tables and graphs, and you're also going to be able to create tables and graphs from slope-intercept form. So you should always remember that slopes are always going to be fractions, okay? And you only add and subtract for slopes. So we have the y math on the top of the fraction and the x math on the bottom of the fraction. And this is used for tables. This side is up or down on the top of the fraction, right or left on the bottom of the fraction. Adding is up and right, going down is a negative thing. And this is used for graphs. All right, so let's look at number one. So number one, we have y equals 2x minus 1. Okay, so my y-intercept is this minus 1. You got to include the sign. And then my slope is this 2 right here, but I'd have to change it into a fraction. So when I do that, it's 2 over 1. So when I start writing out my table here, I have 0, negative 1, because it's the y-intercept. Y-intercepts are always going to be with times 0. Then this positive 2 on the top of my fraction tells me to add by 2 as I go down. And then this positive 1 on the bottom of my fraction tells me to add by 1 as I go down. So when I fill out my table, this is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. This side, negative 1 plus 2 is 1. So we have 1, then 3, then 5, then 7. So that's how I fill out my table. In number 2 here, now we are given a table and we have to figure out what our y-intercept and our slope is. Well, first off, here's times 0 and a 19, so this is my y-intercept. And then as I go down this table, to go from 19 to 16 to 13 to 10 to 7, we are subtracting 3. And then as I go down on the x side, we got 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. This means we are adding by 1. So my y-intercept is that 19, and then my slope is negative 3 over 1, but I can change that to a negative 3. So I want to write out the equation here. So this is going to go y equals, then I write my slope, negative 3, x goes with my slope, and then this 19 is positive here, so I'm going to write plus 19. And there we go, we wrote our equation out. Now, if you write your slope, instead of writing a negative 3, you write negative 3 over 1, I will take that. All right, so let's look at number 3 here. So number 3, at time 0, we have a 1, so this is my y-intercept. As I go down this side of the table, I'm adding by 1. And as I go down on the x side of the table, I'm adding by 2. So our y-intercept is 1. Our slope is 1 over 2. Y math on top, x math on the bottom. So when I write the equation out, we're going to have y equals 1 over 2 to x. Slope always gets your x. And then this 1 is positive here, so we're going to write plus 1. All right, so in the next side here, remember y-intercept is on the y-axis, so it's the up and down line. And then your slope movements, up and right are positive, down and left are negative. All right, so looking at my graph here, looking at my y-axis, I have 4 for my y-intercept. And then my movements, I'm going to go up 1, because remember, read graphs from left to right. So I start at the left dot, how to get to the right dot, and I go right 4. So this gives me a y-intercept of 4. Then I have 1 over 4 for my slope. So when I write the equation out, I'm going to have y equals 1 over 4x plus 4, because this 4 was positive. Let's look at the next one here. So this next one, we're going to look at our y-axis for our y-intercept. So I go down, and it's right here. And I went below my x-axis, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a negative 4. And then I read my graph from left to right. So I start at this left dot, and I'm going down 4, right 3. I'm going to have a slope that's negative 4 over 3, and my y-intercept is that negative 4. So the equation is going to be y equals negative 4 over 3, x, slope always gets your x, and then -4 because our y-intercept was a -4, so we have to keep that sign as we write it into the equation. All right, last one, we're gonna take an equation and graph it. So in number 1 here, my y-intercept is this +8, and then my slope is this -3. And I changed that to -3/1. So what's gonna happen here is I need to label my movement. So if I have a -3 on top, that means I'm gonna go down 3. And if I have a 1 on the bottom and it's positive, that means I go right 1. So let's do this. So 8 on the y-intercept. So here's my y-axis. I'm gonna find the number 8. I'm gonna plot a big fat dot. Okay. Now my graph tells me to go from this dot to go down 3, right 1. So you always want to start with the y-intercept, and then you always want to use your slope to move. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go down 3, so starting here, 1, 2, 3, right 1. Do it again. Down 3, right 1. Down 3, right 1. And I want you to continue this until you get to the bottom of your graph. Okay? And we always want to check if you can do the opposite. All right, so the opposite, if I went down 3, right 1, is up 3, left 1. So from my green dot, can I go up 3 and left 1? No, so I'm done. You always want to extend your graph as far as possible. And then I'm going to draw a straight line because I like to do that. Okay, number 14, we have y equals -2/3x + 4. So my y-intercept in this one is 4, and my slope in this one is -2/3. So write it how you say it, -2/3. And so when I look at my slope, this tells me to go down 2, and this tells me to go right 3 on the bottom. And so you remember, you want to do this first. You want to graph your y-intercept. So I'm going to look for 4, and there it is. I'm going to make a big fat dot. Okay, so this tells me to go from my dot, it tells me to go down 2, right 3. So let's do that. 1, 2, down, 1, 2, 3 to the right. Okay, let's repeat that. 1, 2, down, 1, 2, 3 to the right. Let's do it again. 1, 2, down, 1, 2, 3 to the right. Okay, that's as far as I go. Now let's check out the opposite movement. So if I went down to right 3, the opposite movement would be up to left 3. So from my dot, right, from your y-intercept, let's see, can you go up 2, left 3? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. And look, it is still part of my line. So let's do it again. Up 2, left 3. Can I do it one more time? I sure can. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And look, it makes a nice straight line. All right, so that's the end of these notes. We'll do the other ones together, and then you can go ahead and get started on your homework. Don't forget to do your do now and your exit ticket.